I'm on a quest to find the best climbing gym in New York City, and today I'm at Movement in Long Island City, where I'm going to try and send every V5, and at the end I'll tell you where I put this gym on my tier list. So let's get right into the climbing, starting with this green V0. The beginning is a jug ladder, but the last move is a step up into an undercling, which is pretty cool and unique in my opinion. Next up is this red V1. All of the holds are jugs. There's this cool move at the middle. You either have to cross over or end up in a double gas stomp, both of which are good movements to teach beginners. I move on to this yellow V2. It starts with a crossover to a 2-finger pocket. That's definitely more interesting and advanced than most V2s I see. And there are a couple of more pockets on the climb too. I like the idea of introducing bad holds to newer climbers by setting them with good feet. Next up is this black V3. This one has a technical start with a mantle, an overhead press, and a gas stomp. I couldn't reach the next hold, so I had to get a really high foot, which I wasn't expecting. The ending is very slab-like, with most of your weight on your feet while you match on a small thumb undercling. I really like the movement on this one. I move on to this pink V4. It starts on a jug and you go to 2 slightly positive slopers. There's 3 crimps and you finish on a jug. I read this as a dyno, but it's not as far as I thought it would be. You can definitely go one hand at a time statically. The crimps were a little worse than I expected, but I find this toe hook which makes the end pretty easy. Next up is this blue V5. It's all positive crimps. The last hold is just a nub on the volume. The beginning section is pretty straightforward. For the end, I want my left foot on the foothold, but it feels really unstable with the right hand overhead. So I drop back down and swap feet. But then I struggled to find the right foot that would let me move my right hand again. Eventually, I just go for it without a right foothold, and I'm able to stay on. The ending was a lot more unstable than I thought. I couldn't find a way to match, but then I find this knee bar and I'm able to get the send. I decided to try this red V6. It starts on a flat hold and 2 jugs, and you make a massive move out right to another jug. There's a tiny foothold for a thumb undercling, and then you go to a slopey pocket, and you finish on a slopey last hold. First, I try to rock over a high left foot, but it feels impossible. I try to go for the jug, but it's hard to generate and I don't even feel close. I try a dynamic step up move to the thumb undercling instead, and I'm almost able to hold it. A really important detail of this move is using the right hand as much as possible. Even at the very end, I'm mantling off just my fingertips and using the in-cut part of the hold to keep me on the wall. Finally, I'm able to land the move. From there, it's pretty hard to get to the volume. I try to fall into it, but it's pretty slopey and I slip right off. I worked the move off camera, but couldn't figure it out, so I dropped back down to this yellow V5. It starts on a big flat hold. You make your way around the volume and then push yourself to the left. Then, you go straight up to some flat crimps and finish on a flat edge. This part is pretty cool. I have to get a high foot and push hard to move my left foot. Then I get an even higher foot and rock over it to reach the crimps. The ending is pretty tricky. I want my weight to the right, so the left foot hold isn't too useful. I try to just flag my foot, but I end up barn dooring. I work the move in isolation and go for a foot swap instead. From there, it's a lot more stable. So let's see if I can do it from the beginning. I go downstairs and move on to this red V5. It starts on a big undercling and you go to some crystal shaped volumes. Then there's a good crimp and you finish on a worse upside down one. I try to get my foot on the right volume, but it's way too far. Then I try to get a high left foot, but it's too cramped with my hand still on the start hold. So this time, I lay back on the volume instead of pinching it straight on. Then I can move my feet up easily. I pincer the volume to go up to the crimp, then my left foot slips. This time, I use my heel and get a bicycle, and it's much more stable. But then I struggle with the foot position afterwards. I go for a foot jam, but it's not great. I have to get my foot higher to oppose the force from my right hand, and then I'm stable enough to go for the match. And then I find this back step to free up my hands and match on a pretty bad hold. Overall, I really like this climb. There's a lot of laid backing and some technical footwork with the bicycle and back step. Next up is this pink V5. It starts on a jug and you make a big dyno to another jug. Then you dyno yet again to another jug. And then you go straight up on crimps for an easy finish. I'm pretty surprised that I'm able to get this dyno my first try. But the hard part is coming up, because I'm awful at laches. And unsurprisingly, I straight up faceplant. I find it hard to generate enough momentum to get there, so I get an idea. I paddle off the middle hold and I'm able to reach the next one much easier, even though I can't hold on. This time, I'm able to stab my foot and control a crazy barn door. I didn't even look at the rest of the route, but luckily, it's pretty chill. This is probably the craziest V5 dyno I've ever done, so I'm glad I was able to get it so quickly. I move on to this green V5. It's a mixture of big jugs and crimps. think the crux is getting your foot out to the right. It's pretty far, and the holds aren't great. Overall, it's a pretty traditional style climb with a lot of tensiony moves and technical footwork. Next up is this white V5. You use the volumes and jibs to get over to some slopers on the left and go straight up. I wanted to get my left foot on the higher hold, but I couldn't see it because the big blue holds were in the way. So I try a super high foot instead, but it's hard to balance. It almost felt doable though, so I hop back on and see if I can find a position to make it work. This time, I just walk my feet up and it's a lot easier. I try to stand up to the last hold, but can't quite reach. Instead of swapping feet, I get a higher right foot on the volume, and I'm able to get it. I move on to this purple V5. It's a mix of jugs and small in-cut crimps. This one was an absolute disaster class in terms of footwork and efficiency. I didn't read a single foot move correctly from the bottom. And all the feet felt super high and awkward for some reason. At this point, I'm super pumped, and I'm able to make a desperate move to the finish jug and get the send. Next up is this pink V5. All of the holds are slopers. This one is pretty straightforward, but the last hold is so far over the lip. I work that move in isolation and find that a higher right foot lets me reach the last hold. So let's give it a burn from the ground. and luckily I'm able to stick the move and get the send. I move on to this blue V5. It starts on a couple of jug rails and an in-cut crimp. Then you go to a dish with a decent edge, a couple of in-cut crimps, and finish on a good pinch. This one looked really easy to me, so I kind of underestimated it. I thought I'd be able to swap feet, but I have to down climb to move my right foot over. And the crimps were a lot worse than I thought they would be, but that makes sense since you have a jug foot. Next up is this blue V5 in the cave. It starts on positive slopers. Next, there are 3 tiny in-cut crimps. Once you get to the more vertical face, you finish on slopers. I get a heel hook to go to the next sloper, but it's hard to keep tension. I get a heel toe cam and almost break my foot, so I decide to switch up my beta. This time, I just press my left foot against the wall and I can hold the sloper. Then, I get a right toe hook to get to the first crimp. I get my feet up, but moving off the crimp feels impossible. I look for ways to weight my feet less so the crimp doesn't feel awful, but I can't find one. This time, I just grab the crimp as hard as I can, but it's difficult to swap hands because of how small it is. This time, I'm able to swap hands and grab the next crimp. I try to grab a foothold, but it's pretty bad, so I have to swap hands on another crimp. It's pretty brutal, but afterwards, the rest of the climb isn't so bad. I cannot emphasize how physical this part of the climb is. You can't put a lot of weight through your feet because it's so steep. The crimps are fingery and they're underclings, so it's hard on the biceps too. I really lock off my left arm to minimize any movement when going for the next hold. And finally, I'm able to stick the move. At this point, I'm just praying that I don't drop the finish. After such a physical boulder, I decide to move on to some slabs, starting with this blue V5. All the holds are positive crimps. This first foothold lost all its texture, so it was very slippery. From here, all the holds are side pulls and underclings, so you have to pay close attention to your body positioning to get the most out of them. I jump to the top edge, but kind of just grease off it. I work the move and try stepping through with my right foot, but it feels pretty bad. I square up and can really load my left arm and leg, and then the move to the top edge is easy. Although it was pretty sketchy, this one felt straightforward, and it was originally graded a V3, which I can kind of understand because slab grades just feel super sandbagged because I'm all flat them. I move on to this black V5. It starts on flat crimp side pulls. Then you go to 2 slopers. It finishes on more flat crimp side pulls. The sloper wasn't great, so I knew the match would be delicate, but my foot pops and it spits me off the wall. This time, I keep the foot and then I can go out to the next sloper, and the compression is good enough to swing my feet over to the left. The foothold is a lot worse than I thought it would be, and I end up slipping. This time, I put in a heel hook, and I'm able to get the next couple of holds easily. I really want to get my right hand on the next hold, but it feels like there's nowhere to put my right foot. I try to pinch the hold with my feet, but it feels really bad. I try to stand on the hold and drop knee, but it's too slopey. I get this idea for a high right heel hook, but it's hard to engage the heel. I switch into my squamas since they have a better heel, but it doesn't help. It's too hard to put all my weight on just my left hand and right foot. I get the idea to keep my left foot and then get the high heel. I'm able to get the next hold, but I have no idea how I'm supposed to do the last move. I don't think I can get my left foot higher, so I'm pretty sure I just have to shift my weight over, but that's easier said than done. So I decide to move on to this blue V5 slab. All of the holds are these slopey dual text crimps. The last hold is just a nub. Just getting to the start holds feels impossible. The foothold is a tiny spike surrounded by dual text. I have no idea how to do the first move, so I tried grabbing this foothold to get up there, but it's pretty bad because it's also a spike surrounded by dual text. I'm able to get to the start, but this double Gaston position is awful. I try to pinch the undercling, but it feels like nothing. This time, I swap hands so I can lean into the right hold, and then I can reach the undercling. The hold is really bad from this position, and I end up full crimping the slopey side. I try to switch my left hand from a 2-finger pinch, but it's really delicate. I decide to try the next move. You have to rock over a high left foot, but it feels so bad because your left hand becomes useless and you want to switch your right hand to an undercling. I wasn't really close to sending this one, so I decided to move on to this pink V5 slab. It starts on a volume and decent hold, but then the rest of the holds are just dimples. I try to cross over to the next dimple, but it's really hard. I try to get a high left foot to replace my left hand, but I'm not flexible enough. I try to use the start hold to pull myself over to the right and into the wall, but the cross feels really bad. Off camera, I try to bump the right hand, but that didn't really work either, so I move on to this purple V5 traverse. It's slightly overhung, and all of the holds are slopey dishes, some of which have slopey screw-ons. You can't see them, but the feet are huge jugs. This one is all about staying as low as you can, and definitely favors shorter climbers since the box is so small. The climb felt pretty chill up until the last move. The drop knee feels good, but moving out of it is hard because you have to move your hips away from the wall. This time, I get a left drop knee that lets me match on the second to last hold. Then, I can bump to the last hold and match without ever pulling my hips away from the wall. Then, I tried going in the other direction, and this direction felt much easier. Next up is a blue V5. It starts with jugs on a roof. Then, you go around the lip to some in-cut rails. From there, you just go straight up. It's really hard to keep your feet when matching on the first rail. This time, I'm ready to cut feet and just campus the next few moves. But it's been a long session and my forearms are completely cooked, so I'm pumped out of my mind at this point. Luckily, the next holds are pretty close together. I slap up to a flat hold and then fall while trying to match. It sucks because I'm not able to get this one, but I know that it would be pretty easy if I were fresh. I tried all the V5s, so I move on to this blue V4. It starts on a pinch and a flat crimp. Then, use some volumes and more flat crimps to finish on 2 pinches. For some reason, I couldn't rock over my left heel, so I had to switch it to a toe first. I backstep and stem between the 2 volumes. It's really stable, but I can't reach the last hold. I can't figure out how to undo the moves so I can get my right foot higher, so I bail. I realized I could just move my right foot higher before backstepping and I would be able to send the boulder. So I move on to another V4. This one starts on a side pull and undercling, and you dyno to a jug around the lip. From there, the climb is pretty easy. The dyno is awkward because you have to jump with your right hip turned in. I try to catch the next hold with one arm, but I can't quite hold it. I go with two arms, but slip off. This time, I'm able to catch it. Then, I just get my foot up and lock off to the last hold. Next up is a blue V4 slab. All of the holds are these pinchy side pulls and underclings. I get a bicycle with a left heel hook to start. I grab the next hold as a Gaston, but can't generate enough counter pressure for the feet, and I absolutely destroy my shin. This time, I get my left foot up and cross over to grab the hold as an undercling instead of a Gaston. Then, I can lay back against the hold. My right hand is so sweaty that I just slide down the hold and come off. Finding a position to match the next hold is hard. Letting go of the left hand means losing counter pressure for the feet, but luckily I'm able to stab my foot onto the next hold. The match isn't easy either. I have to bring my right foot all the way to the left so I can lean into the second to last hold with my hip. For my last climb, I try another blue V4 slab. It starts on a volume and you go to 2 positive holds. You traverse left to another couple of positive holds, and you finish on a block hold. Off the bat, I drop the move to the first hold. After sticking the move, I want to shift my weight to the left so I can lay back against the hold, but I wrestle with a barn door that pulls me to the right. I swap feet so I can swap hands, but the position is really tricky. I try to flag against the wall to swap hands, but it's not stable enough. I try starting with my right hand on the hold, but I have to control another barn door. I think the solution is to stand on my left foot and then try to step through with my right, but the gym is about to close, so I don't get another try. So after my session, what do I think of movement in LIC? Their training tools are decent with weights, hangboards, campus boards, and a moonboard. I really enjoyed the setting, and I think there's a good balance between comp climbs and traditional climbs. I also liked how technical the climbs were and how much they emphasized basic techniques like heel hooks and toe hooks. If this was your home gym, you can definitely become a strong and well-rounded climber. And for that, I'll put this gym in A tier. What do you think of this gym? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you're interested in more New York City climbing gym reviews, check out this playlist right over here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!